The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome you to the November Enlightenment. If you would, on the control panel there's a little hand indicator. And if you can click that hand indicator, that will indicate to me that you can hear me okay, and we can go ahead and get started. Great, perfect. Thank you very much. All right. Again, this month we're going to do the emissions calculator. Not a whole lot to it, but at least you have to know how to set it up and know what to look for to, especially to get your emissions down. I had a previous enlightenment about reducing your emissions, but that's I have that. I can send that to you later, or it will be posted on the YouTube channel too as well. Okay, as well as this one, enlightenment class. Okay, so there's a question box there. If you have any questions, just post it there. If you can't hear me, talk up, something like that, or repeat that. But what I'm gonna do is run you through a quick little PowerPoint introduction PowerPoint, then we'll dig into the software here, show you how to run the calculator. Okay. All right. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here and give you the introduction page here. I think everybody's here. Go ahead and get started. So go ahead and welcome you to the class again. We're going to talk about the emissions calculator and how to set it up. The reference material that we're getting this information from, that's we're putting in the SkyBridge, is from the 1995 protocol, as well as the 2011 addendum to that 1995 protocol. Okay. All right, so things that we're going to cover, a couple things anyway: component classes, some reports that we can run preliminary here, the calculation method, and look at the raw data, and also some reports that we generate after the fact, okay, after the calculators, to see the results. Okay, so just want to make sure that we understand there's a part in the calculator, as the trapezoidal, modified trapezoidal. I'll come back to this when I get to the calculation part, but most people use the modified trapezoidal, and that's like when you have a leak. The last time you monitored it was number 2 here. And then the next time you monitor it here is over at this point right here. So did that leak, as soon as you finish monitoring, did it pop up and go straight up like this one here? Did it pop up and then leak all the time until you monitored it again and then found the leak? Or did it gradually become a leak? Most people would agree gradually became a leak. And then once you fixed it, it dropped off like a cliff here. Okay. All right, so let's get into the software here. This is, of course, this is SkyBridge here. And a couple of things you want to do before you actually run the calculator. First of all, a couple of reports you want to see if your data is going to come out right by going under reports. And there's under emissions calculations, there's one that's called component classes without equation sets. So what that means is that when I run this report, I can pick like for instance, I'm going to use refinery for the class here. If I run this report and I have anything that pops up on this report, that means that the class that I have here is not represented in the equation set, meaning I have a class called tank. I have 13 components, and they're going to get the default factor because I don't have equation set for that. Now, what I can do to alleviate that is go under equations, under emissions, go under equations, okay, and I can pick on the refinery here, and I can add a new one here for tank. Now, what would tank come under? Maybe I can pick one of these out, or I can just add tank, and then I can go ahead and put one of these that represents, like I may put connector or something like that. Put the same equations as connector. That way, because this one up here that doesn't have anything, that's the default. So that's the one that it's going to get if it doesn't have anything associated with it under the equation. So that's one report that you can run. That's the one report that we recommend that you run here. The next one is under reporting, reports under emissions calculations is component streams with incomplete compositions. Now, this won't prevent you from running the calculator, but if you want an accurate chemical summary, then you would run this report to see which ones that are not speciated 100%. And as you can see, I have one called benzene, and it's only 60% speciated. I have one called test, it is not speciated at all. And then vapor line, flare line is not speciated at all either. That means that I won't be able to get a accurate chemical summary for these chemicals here. Okay? That's what that means right there. So I can go and populate that, fix it, update the stream composition to, put something that makes up unknown, maybe unknown chemical or something like that. But for the most part, you'll get a total VOC for the unit summary, and you'll get a chemical summary, but it won't be accurate because it's not speciated 100%. Now, back under reports, you also have one that you can run too. Is let's see here, incomplete. The top 50s you normally run after you run the calculator, but you can run this and see the bad actors before you run those emissions. But this one here that you'll run after the fact, just to see which ones that are giving you issues or giving you problems or high emissions. Okay. So those ones we run, get things back, we go ahead and address those. Then we can go to the calculator itself. So calculate, if you're going to calculator, you got to calculate your summary of the calculations, analysis, the chemicals, map equations. These are the equations that we use here. And again, all this information is coming out of EPA protocol. Refinery equations, SOCME, default, California have their own ports, and then you can create your own too equation sets. Okay. So let's get into the calculator. So to calculate your emissions, I'll go through it first, and I'll go ahead and calculate the emissions. And it's going to always default to the previous year. So this one here is going to calculate for 2023. So we can, of course, you can change that if you want to. Change it for come January next year. You can change it. It's going to automatically go to 2024, but you can change it whatever you want it to be. Okay. You have equation sets here: refinery, California, SOCME, chemical plant, or refinery. Those are the two right here that most people use. Trapezoidal, modified trapezoidal. I showed you that little picture simulating which is which, how it gradually became a leak, and then it leaked until you monitored it again. And of course, if you repaired it, hopefully. This is the PEG value. So what is the PEG value? If you were using back 30 years ago, using a TVA 108, it was an analog display, and it only went up to 10,000. So you couldn't get a reading over that unless you used a dilution probe. Then you can go like 100,000 maybe. But for the most part, you wouldn't see over 10,000. You'd never seen any numbers over that. So you can just check the box PEG 10,000. Or if you feel like your machine, when you calibrate it to 500, 2,000, 10,000, is only accurate up until 10,000. And you can check the 10,000 box because really it doesn't matter the readings after that, because the leak is 10,000. That's all you care about. But 50,000, I think it was TVA that calibrated up to 10,000, and they say if you get a reading of 50,000, you still within range of accuracy. But 100,000, who knows what the actual reading is once you get that high. So you can cap them off. Like the state of Texas say you can go up to 50,000. The manufacturer says that 50,000 would still be within range if you calibrated 10,000 ppm. Okay. So I'm just going to do 50,000 here. This is a good one here, and I go over this in a class that I did previously about reducing emissions. Use the last reading from previous period to calculate initial readings, and it says here recommended. And the reason why it's recommended is because for 2023, which is just passed, if you had not monitored something, say you had maybe you got 1,000 components in your facility, just a estimate here, just a low ball here, and you monitored 500, maybe the whole year you monitored 500. So the rest of those components had zero readings, right? So that's seemed to be good, right? Zero, that's perfect. But in the emissions world, that means that you didn't monitor it, so therefore it's going to get the bag study readings, the estimated readings that are coming out of EPA protocol. So your reading is going to actually be higher. The what this little box, when you check that box, what it allows you to do is go back to the previous period when those components were monitored and apply that reading to the current. So instead of having 500 not monitored, 500 monitored, it's going to take the 500 that were monitored and then go find the old readings from the previous period and bring them forth and calculate them within the 2023 calculations. Okay, that makes sense. So again, it allows you to go back, and it's of course in the EPA protocol, go back and apply the reading from previous period to apply it to the current period. Right? And that's going to reduce your, you'd be surprised. And in most cases, it's like your relief valves, things like that, that you don't never monitor. Some people never monitor them ever. And like I go over in that reduced emissions uh, training, just monitor it one time. You can do it. You still got time to go out there and monitor the ones that you have never monitored before. And all you need is that one reading, and then that you can use it for the future. Okay. All right. The next one here is use average for unmonitored flanges and connectors. Only apply to flanges and connectors. So what that allows you to do, say you're not required to monitor flanges and connectors, but what you can do, and this is pretty cool, it allows you to, say you had 1,000 connectors, you can go and monitor 5% and see that 5% representation will apply to the 95% that you did not monitor at all. So it allows you to take an average of a little or no components. Well, you have to come up with the formula for that. How much is a good representation of that? And then go check that box and it will calculate those emissions. So it's like getting away without monitoring, getting some low emissions without actually going out and monitor those connectors. And it's only for flanges and connectors. Include fail visual inspections. Now that's nowhere in the EPA protocol. So that's just volunteer. If you feel like, hey, if I get a drip, that's a leak, and I want to go out and monitor that and then use that in my calculations. But that's not in the EPA protocol. You can do it. Also, this next one is include custom emissions calculations. If you have some custom emissions calculations, say you had custom equations, like say for instance, Texas South, Texas West, Texas East, Texas North equation sets, you can go ahead and use those, include those too. Yes, it says here SkyBridge has the ability to utilize site-specific emissions factors. Yes, Kendra. Yes, that's correct. You can create your own and put your own equations. Of course, you have to stand by them if anything goes wrong. All right, so here's what I like about this. This is new. Before in Leak DOS and previously in SkyBridge too, you only had maybe 4 or 5 filter fields that you can filter for. But notice all the fields here that you can filter for now. And it actually works too. So say for instance, if you want to calculate just for example, open-ended lines or potential open-ended lines, and you have them in user group 1 right here, you can actually run the calculations on just those potential open-ended lines. And maybe once you finish running the calculator, you get like 30, 40 um, components as a result of your calculations, then you can see the emissions coming off of those potential open end lines. Now, that's just an example. You can populate this with anything that you want to calculate that you feel like you want to filter for a certain unit, department, stream, component tag number. Just want to calculate one tag number. You can do that too. Just want to calculate the pumps. You can do that too. So again, just remember every one you do, it overwrites the previous one. So if you do want to compare, just calculate, save it, like your reports, run your reports or export the raw data and then run the calculator for something else. Okay. So here in this live demo here, we're going to go with 2023. We're going to do refinery, modified trapezoidal, and we're going to leave um, all the other filters blank down here. But I did one previously. I just did user group one, and it was only applied to one unit because it was a potential open-ended line, and it gave me like 30 components that it calculated. Okay, so again, that's pretty neat, especially if you got like emission numbers and things like that. You want to populate, you can populate any of these fields. And remember, in the new UI, and I think the old one too, um, they have the 10 fields now for the user group. So that's pretty neat. You can use those for some of those fields for emissions. Okay. So once you do that, you're going to hit go, and it's going to calculate the emissions for you. Okay. And it will exclude out of service components. So you don't have to worry about them getting calculated. Okay. It deducts the date that it was out of service. So the first thing I want to do is go under reports, and I want to look at the top 50 emitters just to see if I got any bad actors out there. So emissions calculation top 50 emitters here, and its run ID is always the previous one. I mean the one that you just ran. You do have process unit and class, pounds or kilograms. It calculates in kilograms, but you can view it in pounds. So let me just run a report. Right. And as you can see, I have mostly relief valves here. Probably never been monitored, like we mentioned before. Never been monitored, and so it's pretty high. I got some pumps on here too, and that's the tanks. You remember the tanks that didn't have the equation set? We didn't create one either. So these are the tanks with the equation sets here. And if I take a look at that, just take a look. Let's just take a look at the tank number. What's the tag number? So it's pound 44.4. Okay. Pound 44.4. And let's just look at the history. So it's a visual, not a method 21. So you would say, well, a visual, it passed. Why would it have a high emission reading? It's because it doesn't have an equation set. Okay. And that means that it's going to take the default factor. And that's why we got those high results off of that. And I can do that with the other one. And I recommend you doing that too. When you run that report, go ahead and look at some of those tag numbers and then see if there's a reading. If there's no reading, or if they don't have an equation set, then you got time before 2023 to fix that. Go ahead and apply a different, go ahead and find out what equation set represents that piece of equipment that you have there with no equation set. And also, if there's no readings associated with those components ever, just go ahead and monitor them. You got November and half of November and all of December to get those monitored. Okay? So again, that's the troublemakers. And then we can go and look at the unit summary here. This is the unit summary, and go ahead, run that report. And here it calculated FCC. If I keep going down here, it'll show me the different units. Okay. Out of 7 pages here. And then down at the bottom, I get the total here. And at the top of each page, you have your calculation method at each page here at the top. We did it in pounds, right? So it's showing in pounds. Yeah. The report here, we selected the measurements of pounds here. Just run it again without the PDF editor. And at the top here, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but at the top, these little 3 little dots, if you click that, then you can scroll down instead of going one page to the other page. Still loading here, but it's showing the same information here. Okay. All right. So under the raw data here, if I go under emissions, here's the summary. It's not a report, it's just the raw data. Click on the summary here. A little slow today. Okay, so here's the raw data here, and all you gotta do is open it up. See the little arrow to the left? Click on it, and it's gonna open up chemical, class, and stream here. But it gives you a total of everything here. Chemical, class, and stream. This is the total of 162 components in the loading dock unit, and this is the total. But then you can break it down by chemicals, class, and then stream here. Okay, it's pretty neat. And once you click on them, you can actually open them up and look at the data. And then underneath that, so for instance, the pump, I got 4 pumps here. Open that up. There's the 4 pumps, 357 kilograms. Open that up. And then underneath, once I get the results, I can open that up. And then it showed me view details, tag details, start time, end time, emission type, flow rate, all that good stuff for each one of those. And again, it does that for each tag number. You can do a search here. You can export this information if you need to. That's if you want to get a little more detail. Click on view tag detail. This is the information about that tag number. You can look at the history. Also under emissions too, this is the download emission results here. So this information I'm looking at here, this is just the whole, all the components, all 7,000 components I can export into Excel spreadsheet. Okay. This is the this is the summary that you're looking at behind here, but then you have analysis, analysis here. Okay. And it shows you the calculation method. It just gives you a whole bunch of information here. You can open up these if you want to, like this unit. Filter for a certain unit. So I want to do storage. Hit OK. And then just storage will come up and show you the information. You can drag these headers up too. Let me see, I think you can. Oh, no, down here. Drag these headers up. The tag number is the grand total. Come down here. Of course, you can get back to the menu, but just a lot of information that you can analyze if you need to. But what I want you to remember out of all of this, though, is, and I don't know about this map. This is the chemicals here. Just shows you all the chemicals that were calculated and the emissions on them. Okay. And this is like a map, and it's supposed to represent where the plume is over your area. I don't like that. I don't know for sure if they're gonna leave that in there or not, but I wouldn't want nobody looking at a big cloud over my plant. Here's the but the thing to get out of this is it's pretty accurate as far as a calculator. It says, is it possible to, a question, Is it possible to add a unit of measure to the output report? Did I miss that option? Uh, on the reports, you got an option for kilograms and let me see. I think this is what you're talking about, Alan. Emissions. Each one of these reports that you run, you get the measurement option here. Pounds or kilograms. That's the only options you get there. Uh, the summary, let's see, summary. Question here on the summary. These are all kilograms. Can they be turned into pounds? I would have to ask about that. I would have to ask because you have to do the conversion yourself here. Let me see if I can. Since it's calculated in kilograms, it's giving you that information. But let's see here. Unit of measure. I don't think you can do it here. But I'll definitely ask about that. Thank you, Angie. Yeah. Oh, the unit in the output? Yeah, it should show that. Let me go back. The question is, whenever you pick that pounds, does it show it in the output? Yeah, I'm sure it does. I didn't pick. Sorry about that. It should say pounds. It doesn't say pounds here. It needs to say pounds. Let me see if it says up here. No. I think it needs to have a box here that says pounds. Unless only way you know is to go back and see what you filter for. That's a good question. Thank you, Alan. Yeah. It says it at the top. Let me see. Yeah, units of measured pounds. Thank you, Tina. Appreciate that. So it shows pounds here at the top. Okay, great. Great group of guys here. You guys probably could teach this class. Good, great, perfect. But remember, um, you also have the ability to calculate your DORs too, hourly, daily emissions on those. But whenever you get time before the end of the year, go ahead and run that component classes with an equation set and then component stream without incomplete composition. And then it's going to keep your last emissions that you ran last year, if you ran them last year or whenever you ran them. Go ahead and run that top 50 emitter for those and see if you can do any, look at what I just did earlier where I looked at the tag number and saw where there hadn't been monitored. This one was monitored visually. But if it's just blank, if you can, go ahead and monitor those components. If they never had a reading before, even if you just do half of them, that's going to reduce your emissions tremendously. So take that in consideration. Now, I did do this earlier where I came in and I did the calculator and I just filtered for like, I think it was, let me see. I think it was that. Let's see if I can calculate that. And so I populated that field. So I go to emissions, summary. Yeah, say I just did 60 components. And if I do a filter for user group 1 is not null, or user group 1 is equal to P, potential opening the line is just going to show me those components. So again, those filters work. So if you want to specifically filter on something, exclude non-monetary components. I don't know. We can do that. I know normally what they do is export this information, Rocky, and then the ones that hadn't been monitored, they would exclude them there. But I can ask about that non-monetary components, excluding them out. Yeah, because I don't see anything in the protocol where it says to exclude. But like I said, if you can defend it, we'll take a look at it. Let me write that down. But just like Rocky mentioned, that anything that you think you need in here that would be helpful in the calculator, send that in. Send that in. Oh, you did say ask, Roski. Okay, yeah. So I'll ask about that and send anything that you may have. Send it in, and we'll address it. Anything that makes you guys' job easier, if it's within the law, of course. Okay. All right. Thank you guys for being with us this afternoon. Appreciate it. Hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed your lunch too earlier. But we'll see you next month. We'll do a little earlier next month too. But thank you. Remember the support line. Chat with us. Can you export save to files from the emissions report? Please make this available for replay. Okay. Export save the files from the emissions report. Yeah, anytime you run a report, this is the file manager right here at the top, files right here. Any report that you run, and basically go ahead and run the one that says edit the PDF. So if I come over here, unit summary, and I want to compare, run this report right here, edit report. Let me run this one right quick. Because when you run that report, see the little red cloud? You can save it in all these folders. And then you have one called emissions calculator, and then save it in there. Hopefully that helped out. Okay. Oh yeah, no problem. No problem. No problem. No problem. All right. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Enjoyed it. See you next month or on the support line. Take care. Bye bye.